Let's take a look at some charts on Zcash from this week's article on Brave New Coin. So Zcash is a coin with privacy capabilities. It is dubbed a privacy coin. It doesn't necessarily have default privacy like Monero and Grin. Certain values for Monero and Grin are obscured, including transaction volumes and active addresses, so they are not on this chart. But XMR leads in market cap, fees, and GitHub commits. It's second in transactions per day. The Dash, which has on-chain mixing as well. Monero has extremely high fees relative to the other coins, but it's sort of a get what you pay for situation. Zcash leads in daily transaction volume and is second in daily active addresses from the data that is obtainable. And it's third in market cap behind Dash. But overall, when you talk about privacy coins, the gold standard's Monero. It's got 1.8% inflation. It's got default privacy. Exchanges can't turn it off. People can't accidentally turn it off. You can't forget your Z address and your T address, what you're using. It's really where you want to be in the privacy realm. Unfortunately, because it's so private, you can't audit the blockchain. You don't know how much Monero exists. Theoretically, we can guess, we can try to figure it out, but we don't know for sure. Whereas Zcash, you can actually tell because they had a hidden inflation bug that they patched and fixed. And Dash and DCR aren't really privacy coins, but like I say here, they have privacy capabilities. So you're able to, much like Zcash, do not shielded addresses, but coin mixing is what essentially it comes down to. And if we look at those inflation rates again, BTC and Monero are red and blue down here. Zcash in the pink. Grin's inflation is still in the 60s. Monero or Zcash at 12% here. And then Dash and Pivx sort of in the middle of the scrum. But it's hard to want to buy and hold a project that has 12% inflation when you're comparing it to things like Monero and Bitcoin, which have sub 2% inflation. So I think that continues to really sting Zcash, even though they just had a halving in November. It continues to lose ground against Monero and against BTC price-wise, mainly because I think there's just the inflation is too high right now relative to these other projects. If we look at the mining rewards distribution, that's changed post hard fork halving. Miners get 80% of the electric coin company, which is Zuko's development arm, gets 7%. Zcash Foundation, which supports Zcash privacy projects and development, that sort of thing, 5%, and grants 8%. So 20% of the reward is going towards furthering the future of Zcash, which is fine, but if I'm a buyer and holder, that's a tough pill to swallow, I think. Basically, you got to hope that the development outcompetes any other coin with lower inflation at this time, which is tough to actually quantify that that's happening right now. If you look at transactions, shielded versus unshielded, you can see the shielded, the private transactions are in the blue here. Overall, very low percentage, mainly because they're not supported on exchanges. You just can't send shielded addresses out from an exchange, to my knowledge, for regulatory reasons. And this is another reason why you don't see Monero listed anywhere, because of the privacy capabilities. If you look at the GitHub commits on the main GitHub, fairly active. Again, they're paying developers, so you expect development to happen, which it is happening, so that's good. That's what you want to see. And here's their improvement zips, Zcash improvement protocols, GitHub. Definitely lots of activity on both of those. Transactions per day and mean transaction sizes. This is both for unshielded addresses, don't have the data on shielded addresses if it can even be obtained. But nonetheless, it's not really exciting. Mean transaction sizes continue to decline. Average transaction counts are just flat. Not anything you want to see if you're bullish. You definitely want to see multi-week, multi-month rises in transactions per day. Transactions per day often follow price. So as price rose from January to July, I believe, so did transactions, and since then it's kind of petered off into multi-month lows. Transaction fees in the red here are quite low and have remained quite low. Mean block size, however, has also remained quite low. So overall, this tells me there's a lot of real estate that's unutilized on Zcash. No one's really sending anything on the chain. At the end of the day, block sizes, if you look at ETH, if you look at BTC, their block sizes are full or close to full. In BTC's case, full. In ETH's case, tons of activity going on there. Not much happening on Zcash. NVT, inverse metric of economic utility in the line here, active addresses in the fill. Both of this is for unshielded transactions. Active addresses rose quite a bit and then have been dropping off over the past few weeks. NVT to me, for Zcash, probably really unusable because the unshielded stuff would drop NVT. We don't know by how much, but it would drop NVT because it would show increased economic activity on chain. And overall, just kind of bounced around all over the place. So, you could read this as bullish because it's declining, and you can read it as bullish because it's kind of below 2017, 2019 levels. So you could say that price is undervalued for the economic utility on the chain relative to 2017 and early 2019. That's how I'd say it, but it's hard to really read this any other way. Read more into that. Here's MVRV, another inverse metric of economic utility versus price and price itself. And basically what I've noticed is MVRV above 1 has kind of been a warning signal. Interestingly enough, you even get a bearish divergence on MVRV here because you got a higher high in price in 2017, 2018, and then you get a lower high in MVRV. So it's definitely something to watch for on anything going forward that has an MVRV, because that seems like a very real signal that's usable and tradable. But you can see where the lows were and where MVRV just dipped way down. So anything below 0.5 is probably a buy, and anything above 1 is be careful territory. It's at like 0.7 or something right now. Kind of middle of the road, not overbought, oversold. Just interesting to watch it should price move up or down in the near future. Zcash is a proof of work coin, which means it's got lots of ASIC activity. It uses the Equihash algo. There was some talk months, maybe years ago now, that they wanted to change that algorithm to become more ASIC resistant, and they kind of downvoted that based on what I was able to read and said we want to focus on other stuff. And they didn't want to change the algorithm. So got some new algos in town, May 2019 and June 2020. This is a big one profitability wise. And I think that's playing a role in the hash rate, which is continuing to push all-time highs basically continuously. Just over the past 2 years, it's hit a new all-time high every couple of months, every couple of weeks. You can see where they adjusted block times here, and then the halving happened right here, late November. So that's bullish for any chain to see hash rate just continue to increase. This is Google Trends, which have been very muted over the past 2 years. Definitely nothing compared to 2016, 2017. Not many searches for the phrase Zcash. If we just zoom into the past 2 years, it is rising slightly. So there's been definitely an increase in activity, probably mainly from having related media and Founders Reward being removed related media. Not so sure about people searching for where to buy Zcash, that sort of thing, just based on price. Just hasn't really gone anywhere. Here's technicals. We have BIFINX long shorts at the top, RSI at the bottom, volume, VPVR, pivots, yearly pivots, 50, 200 EMAs. So the 50 and the 200 EMAs are currently crossed bullish. I say in the article it's at risk for a bearish death cross here soon if it continues to drift lower. I mean, there's tons of support here. It's got a yearly pivot. It's got all this volume support here. It's got 50 as a psychological support. So 50 is really the level to watch. If I'm holding this, I'm watching 50 like a hawk, because if it drops 50, I'm out. If it drops all these lows, I'm out. If it drops below the pivot, I'm out. So 50 will probably be the last line of support if it does drop lower. But you could almost argue some sort of cup and handle. Definitely W double bottom here. Lots of potential bullish continuation patterns. I mean, there was clearly a W something harmonic here, but everything is just stalled out at this 50 to 65 zone right now. Longs are 95% long on BIFINX. Historically, they've been this high. I haven't really meaned much over time. If we do break 50, I expect the shorts to get squeezed and price to break down below 50. No bullish or bearish divergences on volume or RSI here. But if we do break higher, I'm looking at 100, I'm looking at 150, previous highs, yearly pivots, simple stuff like that. Now we're going to get new yearly pivots very soon in the next couple days. So those would be interesting to look at as far as contraction, expansion, support, resist. Ideally, we get another support somewhere near 30 is probably where it's going to end up. And that'll be some sort of buy zone if we do break below 50. But I would definitely be watching 50 there. Cloud has been a jumbly mess. This isn't really cloud type price action because it has been extremely volatile up and down. You can see it's had its moments of, bearishness, bullishness, but anytime it goes in Eiffel Towers like this, the Burj Khalifa, when it goes up and goes straight down, no indicator is going to help you there on high time frames. You can see it recovered and then just sort of is sitting at basically kind of this 50% retracement level. So again, 50 is just, everybody's watching 50, no doubt. And this is the ZEC BTC pair. Bitfinex pushing all-time highs in the long side. Kind of scary as price just keeps dropping. So someone's buying this knife repeatedly. There is a bullish divergence, curiously enough, starting on these lows here. Definitely on lower time frames. A bit harder to see on the high time frames, but it's definitely there. You're getting lower lows in price. Lower closes, especially on these candlesticks, on less momentum. And just a reminder, it took 3 months from September to January to sort of come out of that doldrum with a bullish divergence in 2019. So it's hard to be bullish on ZBTC here, especially when the pitchfork is projecting support down here at 00144 BTC. Definitely below the cloud, below the 200. So overall, I think there's just more pain for Zcash. It's not bullish enough on fundamentals or technicals for the USD pair to see it outperforming BTC or XMR or anything really in the near term. It's kind of just stuck. I mean, it needs lower inflation. It needs a story. It needs dApps or something. I don't even know what's going to turn the bus around for Zcash. Even in the next year, it will have a rotation trade because it hasn't moved. If this doesn't move by Q2, if it's stuck between 50 and 100 by Q2, there's a very good chance that it will be an early mover in some sort of rotation trade to 150, 200, definitely possible, because I expect everything else to be much more bullish into 2021. So this could get super ugly on the BTC pair and just ride this pitchfork all the way down. So to conclude, not much to be bullish about on Zcash right now.